Elden Ring Nightreign is right around the corner, and I have been thinking of which classic Dark Souls bosses might make a return as bosses in Nightreign. We already know about Centipede Demon, Dukester Freya, and Nameless King, but in this video I'm going to go through 3 bosses from each Dark Souls game that I think might have a chance of making it in. Of course, you can't just straight copy-paste these bosses, they will have to be redesigned to fit into Nightrein's much faster combat pace and the 3-player co-op. And that's gonna be a big challenge, but I think that's also what's so exciting about it, to see the old bosses reimagined in a much faster paced modern game. Let's dive into it. Starting with Dark Souls 1. I think Ornstein in Smaug is an easy pick. The fight was one of the most difficult and iconic fights in the base game of Dark Souls, and I think it's the reason that Dark Souls was perceived as a unforgiving and difficult game, or one big reason at least, because the fight was a 2 versus 1 where you had to manage your camera, your distance, you had to carefully pick to take your turn against the boss, and it could feel unfair if you didn't know what you were doing. Now of course, going back to the boss now, it's very easy when we have done much harder bosses in, for example, Elden Ring and the later Souls games, but for its time it was a very difficult boss. So it would be really cool to see that boss redesigned and made fit into Nightreign. And I think one way of doing that is giving the boss more speed, of course. They would be more relentless, they would have some combo attacks, there would be more lightning abilities, and it could be a very chaotic and unforgettable fight. Now the second boss from Dark Souls 1 that I would pick is Artorias, together with Sith. It could be in either a non-corrupted Artorias or a corrupted Sith, but they would be together and they would fight together, and they could have moves that complement each other, some kind of combos, some kind of tag type of attacks, and possibly some abyss themes. It would be a really badass boss, I think. Would it be pure fan service? Yeah. Is it kind of unlikely that it's gonna happen? Yeah, but I think it will be cool to see. And the third boss for Dark Souls 1 that I would like to see is Menace. Menace was the final boss of the DLC. He was the most difficult boss in Dark Souls 1, and it felt like he was a little bit ahead of his time when it came to moveset, and he had a really cool dark arena that I think could be implemented into Nightreign. So like when you run into him as a night boss, it turns darker, there's this abyss seeping out of the floor. He's gonna be relentless, he has his fast, powerful attacks, huge AoE spells. I think it would be a really cool boss to see, and it would fit. So moving on to Dark Souls 2. First boss that I would like to see from Dark Souls 2 is Dark Lurker. He is one of the coolest bosses in Dark Souls 2 visually, I think. He has laser attacks, he's like this dark angel, and he can split himself. I think he would be actually perfect to have as a night boss in Nightreign. It could turn the whole arena, like the whole skybox and everything could just turn completely black, and it would be a lot of contrast between like the bright lasers, bells and all that stuff. I think this boss could be really cool, and I would be surprised if they don't implement Dark Lurker in some way as a night boss, because I think this boss has, I don't know, maybe most potential out of all bosses to be really full. It would be nice to see, and I think he will be in. I would be surprised if he's not in. So second boss from Dark Souls 2. I think the Pursuer just makes sense. He was already like an invader type boss in Dark Souls 2. And I think he would fit perfectly to show up like Morgoth did in the network test. And he could pop up, be relentless, fast, he's flying, he's zooming around, he has a great sword, he has this curse attack that he has, and when you fight him as a night boss, eventually he would be even more difficult, more moves, some crazy AoEs. I think this could be a really cool boss, and I would also be surprised if the Pursuer is not in, because I think he's one of the more fitting bosses. So third and last boss for Dark Souls 2, I would pick Looking Glass Knight. I think Looking Glass Knight is one of the most, or maybe the most creative boss for Dark Souls 2. And it had this ability to summon either players or NPCs to help him, NPC invaders. I don't think summoning players is going to be a thing in Nightreign because they've said there's no PvP, so I don't think so, though it would be cool. But it could summon either NPC invaders, some hostile Nightfarers, or it could summon some kind of mini-bosses to fight with him. The arena could turn into this dark rainy night, like in the Dark Souls 2 arena. I think it could be a really cool boss, Looking Glass Knight. So, for the Dark Souls 3 bosses, I would firstly pick Dancer of the Boreal Valley together with Wart. I think this could be a cool duo boss. They are thematically together, they are two Outrider Knights. They have distinctly different fight styles, and they could have some kind of new combos where they do stuff together to apply Frostbite to the player, and I just like the concept of both of them, and I think they are, especially Dancer is a really cool boss. Both visually, I like the sound design when she walks around and you can hear the footsteps. Secondly, and this one is probably going to be a bit of a surprise, I would pick Yorm the Giant. This one would have to be completely reimagined, no gimmick sword to help you kill him. Yorm the Giant was a huge letdown for many people, or at least me. I was very let down by that fight. It was such a hyped up fight from like the art they had shown of him. It looked like it would be a cool boss, but it was just lame, I think. With just spammed the sword skill on him and he died so easily. So if they reimagine the fight, they keep the design of him, they add some more fire effects, and he goes crazy, summons like the Profane Flame, and it could be really cool, I think. It's one of the bosses that they could do the most improvement on. And the third and final boss for Dark Souls 3, I would pick Demon Prince. It could either be only the Demon Prince fight, or it could be the two demons. I don't remember what they're called, Demon in Pain and something. And when the last one dies, it becomes a Demon Prince, like in Dark Souls 3. It could be a really cool fight. I like this fight a lot in Dark Souls 3. It wouldn't even need to be that much redesigned. It's already really great. Just make it a bit more difficult and tuned for 3 players, and that would be enough, honestly. And the arena could have some Chaos Flame, and I think that would be good enough, honestly. So I want to motivate a little bit why I didn't pick some bosses. For Dark Souls 1, I think there are honestly not that many good fights. The ones I picked are the ones I think would fit the most. For Dark Souls 2, I think I'm very happy with the picks for Dark Souls 2, because when I was thinking about this, I was like, Dark Souls 2 has kind of bad bosses, but honestly, the 3 that I picked, I think they are actually some of the best bosses that they could remake into Nightreign. And I could even see Smelter Demon making it. It would be cool to see that. But other than that, I can't think of any bosses that I would like to see from Dark Souls 2, honestly. There are some, but yeah. And as for Dark Souls 3, I think this was the hardest one to narrow down, because I didn't pick my favorite bosses. I picked the ones that either could make for a cool combination or fit thematically into Nightreign. And I didn't pick, for example, Pontiff Sylvan, even though I like that boss. Shadow of the Earth Tree is only like 1 year gone, and Relana is very similar to Pontiff Sylvan in style, with the 2 swords, with the same glows and everything. I don't know, it would feel like too much of a repeat. I don't think that will happen. And also Gale, for example, super cool boss, but I think reducing him to only being a night boss would be a bit weird. Possibly Sister Frida could be cool to see, but and there are other bosses that would be cool to see as well. There's a lot of bosses that could potentially make it, right? So those are my 9 picks for the classic Dark Souls games bosses that I think would be amazing to see as night bosses in Elden Ring Nightreign. Let me know if you think I missed anything, or if there's anything that you would like to see. Just let me know in the comments, and remember, like and subscribe, okay? Very important. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be seeing you in Nightreign. Until then, have a good one.